afternoon, everyone. How are you? I hope that you're doing well. I am your favorite mermaid mystic. I hope that you are enjoying your day, and welcome to another broadcast. So what we're going to talk about today is how to manifest when you're in dire circumstances. So I wanted to give an example because it can be very, very hard and very troublesome when we are attempting to manifest and we're in not the best situation. Sometimes experiences are less dire, sometimes they're more difficult and arduous. And again, I always have to preface, the kittens are in the cottage. When I was manifesting Jeffrey Sean, many of you that have been following my channel know, and I was in a 25-year marriage when I was manifesting my twin flame. Let me set you up for this video. I did not know how difficult it was going to be because I wasn't really planning to manifest my twin flame. I was just really living in that moment. At that time, I was listening to loads of Abraham Hicks videos, and I would go to her workshops. And so when I was manifesting my twin flame, I did it according to Abraham Hicks, not how I would do it in the current state. I would do it following Neville Goddard's manifestation techniques. And I have several of those techniques that work extremely well, like 100% success rate. I manifested Jeffrey Sean in 8 weeks, so 2 months. From start to finish. Now, and this is why I always state that circumstances don't matter, because what I manifested seemed dire circumstances. Like, why would you manifest a twin flame when you were currently in a marriage, you had just moved, you have a lovely suburban home that you had just moved into, and my 4 children, an active religious person, and all of these situations that were absolutely imperative. Were to look at those circumstances and me manifesting a twin flame, you would not think, like, how is that actually going to happen? Because there's going to be different steps that you have to take, that in the interim before that happens, nothing is moving in the way that you would expect to. So everything has to be so natural when you're manifesting. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. So what I would do is and at that time, I did not know about regulating my nervous system. I did not know, the kittens, I did not know about regulating my nervous system. I meditated, but other than that, I really didn't know anything other than listening and following the flow, is what Abraham Hicks talks about loads in her workshops and in videos that you can listen to on her audios on the YouTube. And that was all that I knew to do. And I also used to use a focus wheel as well. I was really, really an avid fan of the focus wheel until I learned once again about Neville. And isn't that interesting? 2 of these magnificent channels, and I wouldn't say Neville is a channel, but Neville is a mystic, is like a beautiful teacher, which I think he was the best teacher, bar none, hands down. Everyone, Joseph Murphy, everyone that that talks about law of assumption and how to manifest using those techniques about breathing and all of that sort of thing, and SATs, they all got that from Neville. Like, every teacher out there either got it from Neville or they got it from Abraham Hicks. The secret is originally from Abraham Hicks. And I used to be a really big fan of Abraham, but I always still, when I was manifesting, which loads of her things are splendidly wonderful and absolutely delightful. And at the time, I really needed that encouragement from an audio version of Abraham, because when you're in dire circumstances, and like I was manifesting wanting to get out of my marriage and wanting to move away, and I wanted to move near the water, and I wanted to start my life as an author and illustrator, and live my dreams in a little cottage and all of that. And I always felt that I was quite hindered from that, and I could not see the vision. I knew in my imagination what I wanted, but I did not understand like how was going to literally be the steps. And that's something that I really want you to understand what I'm saying, when it's imperative in order to manifest that you have ease and flow, and you have a calmness sense about you. It's all about the vibration, because when you're trying to manifest, this is why I really believe that so many people, I'm not saying everyone does, I love to use affirmations and I do it. But if you don't get to the state of knowing when you should affirm, you are pushing against resistance, which causes it to inflate and become worse. This is why. And where that stems from, look at my video about your conscious and subconscious beliefs. This is why. And if you were in religion, and where you established your belief system is the biggest struggle. And this is why so many people struggle with affirming, because it's not the end all to be all. Now, that's not to say it doesn't work. Everything works for someone. It does. Now, so one of the things that I want you to think about, so when I was manifesting and I wanted to leave the marriage, no one knew of what I was planning in my head. So I would get extremely worked up, because think about the fact that I was living with a narcissist for almost 30 years, be real about that. And I had always grown up in religion, okay? So for those of you that don't know, until I was 17, I was Church of God, a Pentecostal Church of God, like the Holy Rollers. That's what I was. I grew up in that kind of religion. Then I was baptized into the Mormon Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church, when I was 17. And I was a Mormon, a very devout Mormon. I waited for a missionary. Well, my one boy served a mission. Sawyer, passed. And then Brooker never served because I left the marriage at that time. But anyway, so I was seeped in religion. So this is a massively difficult thing for me to think about all of these things and trying to manifest when you're taught not to be doing that, because it's considered witchcraft and sorcery and all of that sort of thing. So I had all of those things, think about that, on my plate at that time. I had a missionary out in the field. My oldest son was on his mission at that time when I was manifesting, literally. And we had just within months moved to a new state. We moved to Oklahoma, and we had moved into a brand new house. And I had been sleeping on the sofa for nearly 7-8 months back in California, and then in Oklahoma as well, because I had to toe the line. If you know what I'm talking about, and you've ever been in an abusive, like psychological abuse or whatever, you know that you have to almost play a part. And I'm not saying this is right for everyone. I'm telling you what I did, because it was dire circumstances. So there was loads of times whilst I was manifesting and no one knew about it, not my children, no one knew about it, you're still having to contend with being manipulated and controlled and talked down to and mistreated, and all of those things that someone that will gaslight you and that's a narcissist. You've got to deal with all of those things, because no one at this point, no one knew what I was planning and what I was doing. And so it was dire circumstances. There would be so many times that my ex-husband would create arguments or shouting and just, uneasiness in the home. And so this is very difficult when people talk about, oh, well, you just manifested. And that almost makes me cry because I can relate to you. I can understand when you're trying to manifest something, pardon me, when you're trying to manifest something because you want a new life, but you have these circumstances that you might be with a person that's abusive, and how do you handle that when you're trying to basically make your escape? How do you do that? So I'm here to tell you, loves, this is what I did. The main thing that you do is you try to remain. So when a particular incident would happen, or, you know, a shouting match would occur or whatever, and you're trying to be in that high vibration, and it's very hard. I understand, loves. I understand you. So what I did was I tried to find the happiest things that I could that would help me to stay calm, and that would help me to not let what was happening to me get to me. And some days I didn't do so well, you know, because, you know, I'm a fire-tempered little lass, and I would sometimes let that my emotions get the better of me, and I would lash back out because, you know, you can take only so much before you're backed into a corner. And I had been dealing with this for so many years that it was just absolute, completely and utter wretched circumstances. So what I would do is we had a garden tub, and so I would take loads of baths because I could get away. I could be alone and not have to have someone bothering me. So I would lock the bathroom, and I would just stay in there and have we had a garden tub, so I would take like 3 baths a day. It's not like I was bathing, but I would just go in there because I knew no one would bother me. It was my safe space. Do you understand? It was my safe space. So if you need to go into the bathroom and have you a moment, or have a little bath and just get in the water, your equilibrium and your nervous system will regulate itself. That because you're made mostly of water, my loves. And if you want to really believe and go into your imagination that you were once a mermaid, okay? You imagine, this is what our imagination is for, to create the reality that we desire. And if this is the one thing that will help you to regulate your nervous system, this is what is imperative. Because when you are in high alert circumstances, and you know, if you've dealt with, like me, I was always on eggshells. But because the blessings of living with a narcissist, and what I'm saying is there is a silver lining. Do you understand? Because what it helped me to do, and then when my father, me growing up in an environment that was extremely domestic abuse and hostile, is use the things that you deem are negative in your life. You know, if you were molested as a little girl or a boy, or if you were lived in a horrible, wretched environment and you were abused emotionally, physically, psychologically, you're going to know that your inner being will help you because it's a blessing in disguise, loves. Because all of the things, if you look really, really deeply, like me living in an environment like that, it helped me to know, because that was normal to me. So it took me a longer time to recognize the abuse, right? Because when you grow up in a terrible environment, you think that's normal. That's why people don't understand, like when you're being beat as a woman, you think that's love. You don't understand, I'm being abused here. No, people that don't understand, they've not lived in it, they don't understand. This is why, because we think it's normal to be treated such a way. So it took me a longer time to realize that I was with a narcissist. My mom, it took her years and years before she was like, yeah, this is not normal environment. Like, this is absolutely not normal, you know? But the damage had already been done for me when I was a little girl, you understand? But what I did recognize is it was a physical thing. And yes, there are loads of psychological things happening here. it prepared me, because I was able to, and this might sound horrible, but what I'm telling you is, and when you're in dire circumstances and you're trying to manifest your way out of something that seems unbelievably difficult and almost impossible to do you know what I'm saying? You learn, living with a narcissist, you learn how to use that to your advantage. Because if you start to recognize and know what's going on, all you do is you use those avenues to play a part. You play the part. So no one knew, because I knew how to, because I grew up in a very volatile childhood, I knew how to live on eggshells and to make it seem as if it was normal. Do you understand? So then when I had to escape from my husband, my ex-husband, I knew how to do it, to play that part, because it was called acting. I learned from an actor, I learned how to act my way out of this situation. And what you're doing literally is you're manifesting and you are acting out something that is in your imagination. It's not even real yet. So if you can do that, the way that you do that is you step into that person. Think about this. Probably most of you have done plays when you were wee little children. Maybe you were in a school play. Maybe you liked theater. You've always been playing a part. And this is what I'm asking you to do, to manifest in dire circumstances. Because there were moments that I was just like, I don't know how this is going to play out. But instead of focusing on that, you know what I focused on? Anything that made me happy. I had Downton Abbey on a DVD. So I had the entire seasons, okay? So what I would do is I would put the season on that was my favorite, which was season 5. That's one of my favorite seasons. Season 5 on, and I would play the entire season, and then I would play the entire season over and over and over, because it brought me happiness and it distracted me. So when I would be cooking supper, I would listen to Abraham Hicks. No one knows if it's music or if it's Abraham Hicks or if it's this video. No one knows it, okay? And what I started to do was I started to pick up on certain things that where I was controlled, okay? So these are other things that would happen to me, so that I could start to slowly pull away without it being like, I'm leaving. You can't do that. When you're in a narcissistic relationship or an abusive relationship, you can't just state you're moving. I'm leaving. You can't do it. I'm leaving this situation. You can, but guess what it's going to do? It's going to cause way more grief than you are wanting. Do you understand? So what I did was I started to learn, change the code on my phone. And when I did that, that caused massive issues, because my ex-husband clocked everything. I didn't know this for the longest time because I was a church girl. I didn't know things about the real world. Do you understand? People like this take you away from everything that is natural and normal to you. So when and they're not going to do it so aggressively at first. They do it naturally, so you acclimate to it and you think that's just natural and that's normal behavior, and it's not. And yes, that did cause problems. But another thing that I figured out how to do from the YouTube was this has become like how to escape a narcissist or something. I should retitle it. Another thing that I did was I figured out, I started to recognize like, hey, how does he know? Like, he's clocking my mileage. He's clocking where I am. He's got me on the Google Maps. Like, he's following everywhere I'm going. How does he know where I'm going every second of the day? Like, if I'm at Walmart in the parking lot too long, he knows where I'm at. And like, what's taking you so long? What's taking you so long? And so the YouTube, how to undo the tracking, And then I changed the code on there, and you know, I would take long walks, because long walks would get me away once again from that person, and that helped me to be happier, because I was so unhappy. Like every time I was around this person, I was so unhappy. And even my children would say, Mommy, when Daddy's out of town, why you act like a different person? And my children would say this so constantly, and mostly it was Sawyer, but I would brush it off, because I was like, no, I'm not. I'm the normal person. I'm like your mommy. And he's like, no, you're really not. You're a completely different person. You're not like the mommy that we love when Daddy's not home, you know. And but you don't know those sort of things when you know, when you're 14 and then you're in your 40s. Do you understand? It just creeps up on you, doesn't it? But anyway, so yeah, I would do that. I would take long walks. I would shoot YouTube videos. That's why I started a YouTube channel, because I wanted to learn how to do it, because I felt like, oh, if I could just talk and maybe it would help me, because, you know, I was always told, you know, you talk too much. Why are you talking so much? No one cares what you're saying. Stop talking so much. And so I would write in my diary. And then when I started doing the YouTube in 2014, it made me so happy, and I really enjoyed doing it. And so I would just shoot it on my phone. You can go back and look at all my videos and how I was trying to break away, you know. I was trying so hard. Those are the things that I would do in dire circumstances, little by little. And then what you do, because I now know how I can help you even further, is that if you're going through those experiences, you manifest every little step you take. Like, for example, if I knew what I knew then, I would have manifested before disabling the thing on the phone, knowing, you know, or changing the code. I would have manifested that maybe I would have come up with a reason as to why I had to do that. I wanted something that was mine. And you know, if you've ever dealt with someone of this caliber, everything that you do, they will block you from doing it. So if you don't follow the rules, you know, you're going to get your cell phone taken away. And I know this sounds psychotic, but I know that there's so many women that experience the same thing that I did. I know it. The troubling part is that when you're manifesting, you're thinking, it sounds all great and lovely, all these videos, like that sounds lovely and great, but what if you're like in a really bad dire situation? What are you going to do then? You know, or just, I mean, it could be other things. It could be a financial thing that that's a dire straight situation. But it all goes back to, if you're manifesting it, you manifest it, you keep it all within your heart, and it doesn't matter, because no one else, it's just between you and your higher self, the collective, the God consciousness of you is the only person that needs to know what you're doing, and your higher being knows how to work it all out. And it did work everything out for me. Yes, I had to lie and say that I was going on a trip to visit my mom, because if I wouldn't have lied, I would have been I was already threatened to be taken to the doctor and put on medication and all of that. So I couldn't do any of that. Like, I was the one that was going crazy. So I had to pretend that everything was just absolutely normal, all the way up until me getting on an airplane. I had to do it that way. And so when people would come, people would judge me. People judged me for it. And now I just think, oh, I really wish you wouldn't have judged me, because you're going to have to pay your karmic debt for that. So just remember, loves, if you think something about someone else, try to remember, please don't judge other people, because what your words are spells, and you are manifesting. And if that person would not be the kind of spirit that would receive or think something of the sameness and similar to you, you will have to reap that karmic thought upon yourself. It will be heaped upon you like coal. And so I don't want you to judge other people for what they're doing in life, how they're manifesting, how they're, you know, dealing with the situation that they're in dire circumstances, or they don't seem to be doing what you would want them to do, or whatever. That's just kind of like on a side note tangent, but I just want to give, you know, my love to you, and I'm sending you my love. And if any of you are called and you feel that this is type of videos that you love, I mean, obviously I'm not going to be a crying, wallowing mess every time, but it touches a part of me that I want to help women so much, because I know and understand how difficult it can be to manifest something in your life when it does seem like the whole world's against you. It's not. The whole world's not against you, and I'm living proof that there's nothing that you cannot do. You can escape. I don't care what it is. There is nothing you cannot manifest. So I want you to know that I'm here for you, and as always, I'm most affably yours until my next swim. Cheers, darlings. Toodle pip.